Question 26A was a 3-mark question. It related to the topic of fitness choices, which is the second option we've studied. The question was, describe how people's attitudes to fitness have changed over time. So we're looking for a description which shows the features of and what has happened to fitness over time. If we have a look at the syllabus, we can see that in the dot point that it's come from is the second dot point here. Oops, sorry. So if we look at that, that's the value that people place on exercise and fitness, and the changing attitudes to fitness. Fitness as a commodity, which is an important part of this. Analyse the range and opinions about the value that people place on fitness. So that's where the question, the dot point that it comes from. Some things that we were looking for in this answer was seeing where fitness has evolved from being a part of an add-on to a person's life, where today it's got to the point where is it a commodity or an industry that we all have some aspect of. You could have discussed some things about how features of exercise have changed from being the aerobics of the 80s. Bodybuilding was a part of it, and to today where fitness has become an aspect of an individual's life in terms of the changes of technology and how that's affected it. So we could look at some things to do with what's available to us as a fitness industry today. Some of you failed to read the question, and we got confused with fitness and health, remembering that this topic is fitness choices. So a couple of you need to work on your skills of reading the question. This particular response, people's attitudes to fitness have thoroughly changed over the last 40 years. It gives us a good starting point. Looked at some time points. Again, and some of you fell into the trap of making generalised statements about time, and you need to be specific with the times. Here we can see that the 70s was mentioned, the rise of Arnold Schwarzenegger, some accurate information about what's happened here. The 80s, where aerobics and the Ironman tournament became noticed. The 90s, where we spoke about time being a factor that people have now had to deal with, finding time in their lives to do exercise. So a good reference to the different aspects of the changes that have occurred to people's attitudes towards fitness over time. If we have a look at this response, again, it makes a statement that has changed, which we all are able to do that. Reference to fitness and technology and how those have been incorporated together, and fitness as a commodity. This statement gave this candidate the ability then to talk about what a commodity is, and we understand that it's to do with an industry. So it's not just an add-on; it became a major part of people's lives. Generally, most people answered this question quite well. If we look at question 26B, we're looking at explain the motivators and barriers that individuals identify in relation to participation in physical activities. This question has gone quite well. Generally, most people are able to come up with a good discussion and explain. So the explanation, I need to talk about the features of the motivators and barriers, and how that affects people's participation in physical activity. So both motivators and barriers needed to be looked at here in this particular question. The motivators could have been grouped into the physical consequences. So if you're going to train, then you would hopefully improve your general fitness. If you're going to do weights, you would then hopefully see an increase in your body size. So there's some examples of physical consequences. Some other motivators that could have been mentioned were things to do with extrinsic and intrinsic rewards. So an individual extrinsic, things outside of their body, maybe trophies, maybe money rewards, maybe things that are outside of the individual. Intrinsic rewards are things like self-satisfaction, pride in what you've achieved. So they're the things that we need to talk about in regard to motivation, motivating factors. The barriers: time, lack of access to facilities, lack of access to childcare, commitments of work and family, monetary limitations, facilities. Those were some of the things you may have spoken about in reference to the barriers. If we have a look at where in the syllabus this question comes from, it's the last dot point in this particular topic. It's very clearly listed there. So it's that last dot point: access to facilities, convenience of use, cost, feelings about fitness and exercise is a priority, influence to other responsibilities, example family and work. So we've outlined those already. If we have a look at a couple of the better responses, this particular response has just gone straight into and listed what the motivating factors are and discuss them as following this. So we've got, tells us what they are. Looked at family, friends, goals, personal trainers. So we've got a range of extrinsic and intrinsic motivators there. Told us how they're going to improve fitness. So a good explanation there. If we look at the next part of their answer, again, now talking about the barriers. So it gave us a good list of those barriers and then explained how those barriers were able to affect the participation in the fitness activities that the person may or may not have been involved in. So we're clearly explained. It was obvious to me that they knew what the motivating factors and the barriers were, and then we're able to explain how they affected the performance of a participation for that individual. Again, if we have a look at this answer, use of highlighter, I think that's something we all need to improve on, use of highlighter or underlining. Spoke about what barriers were, what the motivating factors were, listed there and explained, which is what we need to be all able to do. Read what the question's asking you, and then give evidence and back it up with examples is really important. The continuation of this answer. The strength of this answer was their discussion of the barriers. So spoke about why people didn't participate, what were some of the barriers, and how these affect an individual's participation in physical activity. Again, the highlighter really makes it clear to the reader. If we have a look at question 26C now, the question read, analyse the advertisement techniques used by exercise product and service providers. A 7-mark question, which meant that it was you needed to do a bit more than the previous two, obviously. When we talk about analysis, we're looking at the relationship between things. So it looks at the techniques of advertising and how they are used and whether or not they're effective. So it wasn't just a matter of listing them. You then needed to discuss why they are used and how they are effective or ineffective in getting the message across that those products and services are what the consumer would be wanting. If we look at the syllabus, if we see in this particular section, the dot point here, advertising and promotion, how do you know what to believe? Promotion techniques, direct marketing, limited offer memberships, accuracy information. So we're looking particularly at the promotion techniques, direct marketing, limited offer memberships, and there are many others that you could have spoken about, and many of you did speak about, or write about, I should say, in your answers. In looking at some of those techniques, you could have discussed, and should have discussed, and did discuss some of the following. Famous people or celebrities that may have been used to endorse products, reductions of prices and fees for gyms and facilities that are being used. Some of you spoke about the various media types that were used, and that was fine. So looking at how that affected the consumer. Guarantee of results. So many of these companies guarantee results. Some of you discussed analysed the before and after technique that was used by some companies. Product comparison, so you're comparing your product to another competitor product on the market. So those were some of the things that you could have discussed. If we look at some of the better responses, again, you'll see that the examples of what is something that was a strength in this particular answer. They were able to talk about a particular technique, but they looked at a particular product. In this case, it was the skins product. So they spoke about how elite athletes have used the product. They spoke about the different campaigns or media types that were used, the programs, etc. That's the conclusion of this answer. Got into how effective they were in terms of what was successful about them, but they looked at the different media types that were used and whether or not they are effective. If we look at this answer, another strong answer, use of highlighter, made it something that was easy to understand, that the candidate knew what they were talking about. So exercise products, we're talking about free month memberships. Talked about the accuracy of these events, these companies and their products. And finally, gave some examples here again. So we can see that spoke about the Ab King Pro and discussed how that particular advertising campaign was used and what techniques were used for that. The other strong part of this answer is their ability to refer to Fitness New South Wales, which is shows us that they have an understanding of some of the governing bodies that look over the fitness industry, and thus they are able to use correct terminology.